Welcome to the Warren Cycling Podcast. My name is Dean Warren. I'm in Cascais, Portugal today.
Cascais?
Cascais. C-A-S-C-A-I-S. Cascais, just west of Lisbon.
And I'm Randy Warren, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, we've got some pretty exciting racing news, professional racing news to talk about today. It is the 10th of June, episode 357 of the Warren Cycling Podcast. And the Tour de Suisse is in day 2, and the Dauphiné, Criterium du Dauphiné, just finished up yesterday. And that's the race that really, a lot of people look at it to see how the form is for riders that are preparing to do the Tour de France, which is now just, 19 days away? Is that right? It starts the 29th, today's the 10th? That's doing my math right?
Yeah, I didn't even know what day it started, the 29th. Yeah.
Yeah, it starts the end of June, accommodating the Paris Olympics in more ways than one. I think or earlier start and finish in Nice instead of Paris.
Yeah, it's funny too because most sports, Olympic sports, everything's focused on the Olympics, but cycling accommodates the Olympics. But many people, I think someone asked recently questions, and they've asked this in the past too. Would you rather win a classic or the Olympic road race? And almost to a person, they say the classic race or the Olympic road race. Olympic road race is considered a good race to win, but if you won Paris-Roubaix instead or Amstel Gold, not even Amstel Gold, I guess, but Flanders or
a monument, a classic or a monument.
I think they say classic, and not even a monument. I think a classic. They'd rather win the classic than the Olympic Games. So I guess it would be Amstel Gold because that is a classic.
Yeah, probably depends on the nationality too. I think Americans probably put more into being in the Olympics as a cyclist than, especially the women. There seems like the focus a lot more on the Olympics. But the men, I mean, it only comes around once every 4 years. The thing is, it doesn't have the history like so many other sports, or in cycling sports as well, because up until 2000, right? 1996, was that the first year the professionals were racing? That was right, yeah. 1992, Barcelona was the last year. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, riders would sometimes wait to turn professional to get in that Olympic race. So it was important then, I guess, if you're amateur still. And then starting in 96 in the Atlanta Games, that's where we saw the first professionals.
From cycling, I guess there was professionals from other sports before then. So it must be one of those things that the governing body of the individual sports decided whether it was okay to have professionals or amateurs. I think like with hockey, for example, too, the NHL is a big influence on that. I heard that the next Olympics, the NHL is not going to create the same kind of break that they have for the Olympics, and so there'll be fewer professionals in the Olympics for hockey than there is now. So it's a complicated thing.
Sure.
But for other sports, though, for gymnastics or swimming or wrestling or things like that, it's all in for the Olympics because it's one of the few times in the 4-year cycle that they get any kind of TV exposure.
Right. Even though they have world championships every year and other big events, but it doesn't you never hear about it unless you're following that sport specifically.
Right.
Which is probably what a lot of people like for cycling. Yeah, most people don't. I mean, they know the Tour de France because it happens every year. So yeah. Well, but the better Americans do, the better exposure I think Americans get in these bicycle racing. I mean, most people are going to always ask me what I think about Lance Armstrong still when I talk to them about cycling, because that's the person that
okay. I get that sometimes, but much less now than I ever used to.
Yeah, I think the crowd I'm with my work is maybe less cycling crowd than yours in Asheville. I don't know.
Yeah. But right now, it's in the past though too, when it was Greg LeMond or Lance. That's probably the only two people really that have kind of captured the attention. And but if they didn't do well, there weren't really many other cyclists from America that could have the potential. And maybe right now,
Andy Hempstead won the Giro d'Italia, but
yes, yeah,
I don't. Yeah, not many people know.
I think in terms of so I'm thinking of now though in terms of like Sepp Kuss is our best GC Grand Tour. I mean, he won the Volta.
He won a Grand Tour, yeah.
Right, and then he did not race well this last weekend at all. If all our hopes were pinned on Sepp at this point, we would be out of luck because it's even though they say, oh no, he might be fine in 3 weeks to do the tour, and
because he was ill, he got ill at the end of his camp coming to he's not 100%.
Slight illness, yeah. Anyway, But now Matteo Jorgensen steps up and he gets second place. So, but then we also have to remember too, like Andrew Talansky was the last American to win in 2014, I think it was. And
right,
it
was kind of a coup at the end of that race. The
yeah,
Contador and Froome were they marking out each other, and Talansky got away. And
on the last stage, yeah. And but I think his best tour finish was fifth. I think he was fifth one year in white jersey.
But he would have had a good chance that year had he not crashed out. I think 2014. Well, that's the year that Contador and Froome crashed out, and it was Nibali that got the chance to win. And I think TJ Van Gardner probably would have podiumed if he hadn't bonked on that one climbing stage too. But Talansky, I think, had a good chance. He was riding really well that year.
Is that the year he crashed out in the sprint, where he was in the sprint and he mixed it up with the sprinters and then he tried to pull out of it and it was too late and people
I think so.
He crashed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so it's again we grasp at straws as Americans for that ultimate success, I think, of being a Grand Tour winner, and so Sepp has done it, but he's also kind of in the Chris Horner maybe world in terms of that might be his only one he ever gets a chance. It's hard to say. I guess this year we think though, with Jonas Vingegaard possibly not being at his best, well, for sure not being his best for the tour, but maybe not even starting, that this would be Sepp's chance to be it was his chance to be the undisputed leader, perhaps, of this Melissa bike at the tour, but he lost two of his best lieutenants in the Dauphiné, so they're out.
I think they came in maybe co-leaders, perhaps. I don't know.
Oh no, for the Dauphiné for sure, right?
Yeah.
But I think if Sepp and Matteo are going to both go to the tour, Sepp would be I don't think they'd be co-leaders then. I think it'd be Sepp, but because certainly before the Dauphiné.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But anyway,
logically would say that because Sepp's won a Grand Tour. He's but Matteo, I mean, they don't know what his limits are. They don't know how good he doesn't know how good he can be. He keeps racing very conservatively, saving as much energy because he knows his size is a detriment. That's what he keeps saying. I'm just trying to save as much energy, ride conservatively.
But you should do anyway.
Yeah, didn't want to. He didn't want to risk losing his place to Derek Guy, who was the other huge revelation of this Dauphiné, who was riding really well, but maybe more aggressively than Matteo. But I think Matteo, he gave everything he had the last day to the finish. He had to sit down. He had to get off his bike and sit down. So we know he pushed really hard. He was going hard enough, I guess, that he didn't even contest the sprint with Carlos Rodriguez. I was a little surprised at seeing the finish where he didn't even try to, or he didn't have anything to try to kick to get those bonus seconds.
He was pulling a lot though.
He was right. He was because he was going to gain the most by
Rodriguez was. I mean, he ended up fifth, right? So it was overall. So it wasn't a chance for a podium finisher. His big thing was winning the stage that day, and Matteo's big thing was not to win the stage, although it would have been nice, but it was to possibly get the GC. So I think Matteo was probably doing more of the work and pulling harder, although it was Rodriguez who created the gap in the first place. Right. But I think though, towards the end, I think Matteo just didn't have anything left to try and contest the finish. So I think he was giving everything he possibly had just to stay on Carlos's wheel at the last couple hundred meters there.
Yeah. So there are plenty of other podcasts, YouTube channels you can watch to find highlights of what really happened. We talk to each other about cycling at the high level, but not giving really any recap or not even giving much background. We're just jumping in for knowing.
We're assuming you know something about what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of that Matteo Jorgensen was.
We're definitely a cycling experienced kind of audience, because if you don't know anything about cycling, you don't want to join our podcast maybe, unless you just like our banter.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Matteo Jorgensen had an amazing chance. He didn't even know going into the last 3 days, how is my body going to respond? How am I going to do 4,000 meters of climbing, high mountains? And
that was a short stage too.
Shorter stages though, which
the first one, especially Friday was.
But he said he got better as it went on. So it's a 1 week race. I mean, they were hoping that he would do well at 1 week races this year. I mean, I think he's done. Yeah, he's done phenomenal. So I don't know. They don't know how far he's going to go. I mean, how much if he goes up against on form Teddy Pogacar though, you would think he doesn't have much of a chance at all. Most people don't. Only on form.
Best case scenario would be podium finish in that kind of situation. So
Right, but with Remco Evenepoel and Primož Roglic, two of the top racers who could challenge Tadej Pogačar, Jonas Vingegaard, but they're both not at their top form because of that Itzulia stage 4 crash earlier in April. Although those two, compared to Jonas Vingegaard, were back on their bikes and training a lot more.
And racing.
Evenepoel, well, he said he's at 85%.
That's
He
what he
put, I
said.
don't know
Yeah.
how you put a percentage. I mean, he killed the time trial. I mean, I don't know how much was he, 85% in the time trial. I mean, yeah, he
Yeah.
was really strong there. Roglic looked really strong. Roglic won only on time bonuses. He had 26 seconds of time bonuses. He finished only 8 seconds ahead of Jorgensen, and he had, I don't know what, 12 seconds time. It was, the difference was time bonuses.
Yeah. Which
So
happens, especially for someone like Roglic who has a good kick at the end.
good
So
kick, yeah.
he'll get a lot of time bonuses, and he's also very super aggressive trying to get the win at the end too. So that paid off in this situation for sure. And sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you're just a better climber, climb away, put minutes on people. But a fair amount of time, it's the person who's aggressive and can get a win from a small group. That makes a difference.
Was it the 2011 Vuelta that Kobo won on time bonuses against Froome, but then he got his stripped away, so Froome ended up winning.
That was his first. That was Froome's first win when his first Grand Tour win. Yeah.
So yeah, Froome was racing. He finished. He got
I didn't even see.
Yeah, he finished like 92nd or something. An hour and a half down.
He's hoping he'd have a good race and secure a spot on the tour spot. Yeah, but this certainly did not help his cause in any way, shape, or form.
No. But Derek G, on the other hand, who I guess already was going to go to the Tour, and last year was so good at the Giro, but couldn't quite get a win.
No, 3 second places. Yeah.
This year he gets a win at the Dauphiné, and it wasn't just his win there; it was him continuing to be strong and riding high up in the mountains. Him not even knowing how far he could go. And wow, yeah,
yeah, the last stage he was
pushing it too.
Place in the last stage, yeah. It was good. And he did get gapped by Matteo and Carlos, but
maybe because he did too much work towards the end there. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, he's at his limits, obviously, whether it was from doing too much work or just the climb itself. But he was still ahead of Roglic at that point and way ahead of Evenepoel. So he had a really good race. And I think definitely, and again, we are victims of this as well as so many people that are protagonists that you look at the procrastinators, whatever it is. But anyway, look at always the tour for everything too. And so just this being this race, so yeah, it was Roglic did what he needed to do to hold on, and that was.
And he was happy. He was really happy to win this big race. It's a big race. It's one of the biggest 1 week races of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And Evenepoel, I mean, he said his goals were that he didn't want to blow up. Just ride everything to win the time trial and then ride every climb and finish to the finish. And so he dropped back right away because he's had that in the past. I mean, when he was a couple years ago, he would go all out in these steep stages and then blow up and lose tons of time. And now he's just trying to get back that last bit of form. And so he certainly accomplished his goals. And he wasn't looking to win this race. But Roglic was saying, I want to try and win this and see what I can do. And so he rode the time trial he needed to ride. He rode the other stages that he needed to. He won the sprints, like you said, to get the time bonuses. And then that last day where it was, reaching his limits, he managed that stage well. He rode to his limit and was, and stayed right there rather than going over it. And that was key for him getting the win. Yeah.
He's had some last day stage race losses, not only the Tour, but also at Paris-Nice. And he still continues to crash. I mean, he crashed twice in this Dauphiné, so.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So I was seeing somewhere how, man, Roglic, here he left Visma Lease bike, so he got a chance to be the outright leader. Had he stayed at Visma Lease bike this year with Jonas, I mean, you can't ever predict that because they're in the same crash. But
and the thing too is that in December and January, everybody's always saying the big four, all these things that happen too. And I think we even said on a podcast that sure, people say that then, but you never know what's going to happen come July because almost always in December, you think it's going to be a huge, great matchup. And then almost always in July, many of those people in that matchup aren't at their best. And that's certainly going to be the case this year. I mean, right? it's I mean,
It'll be intriguing for sure, but it'll
yeah,
shake out pretty
Pogacar's the only
early.
one that hasn't had a major crash this spring, and so yeah, he's going to
Yeah,
be
Pogacar.
Yeah, he's going to be the outright 5-star favorite, and I think at best anybody else will be a 4-star favorite. So
I think the difficult stages at the beginning of the tour is going to be maybe more indicative of the. It would be more difficult, I guess, if you lose a lot of time if you're not at a high enough place in your fitness at the beginning that you can maybe lose a lot. Do you think or not?
well, I think it might be the other way around too. It might be the Evenepoel and maybe even a Roglic or somebody who's not able to go 3 weeks deep into a tour, but they've got fitness. Even Vindigo, he said if I'm 100%, I'll go to the tour. I think they might be able to put up a great fight those first couple of days and not lose time with good fitness they have, but they don't
Like
have the deep
Pogacar
fitness.
last year, you mean?
Yeah, exactly right. They don't have the deep fitness to make it to the end. So that's my hope, at least. I would hate for Pogacar to be so far ahead in the first week that it ends up being the Giro.
Yeah.
The race was basically over on day 2. So hopefully that doesn't happen with the Tour this year.
No.
My
Well,
guess though is
everybody comes into the tour at their best form of the year, or tries to. And so you'll
most,
have other riders that will be rising up and
yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, and every day is exciting too. It depends on how you're looking at it too. So I think that sometimes if you're just looking for the overall, like the Giro was relatively boring for the overall. It wasn't in doubt after the second day, but every stage was really exciting that people were, especially the last hour or so of racing, where people were attacking and making the stages really hard. Like today's stage in the Tour de Suisse,
Yeah.
I was reading some preview about it and they said, oh, this might be a sprinter stage. And I'm thinking, no, the way
Yeah.
people are racing this year, I don't see how possibly this is going to be a sprinter stage. Although Brian Carr is, a puncher and,
And Michael Matthews too, and Arnaud
yeah,
Delis, he was one
right.
that
But
can get over clients usually.
none of
Yeah.
those guys are pure sprinters though. In a flat stage that is a pure sprint, they might be top 5, but they're not going to win with the current crop of pure sprinters. But the pure sprinters aren't going to make it to the end of a stage like today, I think. So
Yeah. Alberto
yeah.
Bettiol's kind of getting to be known maybe of doing a lot of late stage attacks, huh? He was often
Yeah.
got caught, but he's done that more times than not, it seems like lately, and sometimes it works.
Yeah, well, he's more of a classics rider, so he's not going to
Yeah.
win the sprint either. But yeah, I think it's great too, and more people are doing that, and more people have the fitness to do that. So I think it makes no stages boring anymore.
Yeah. What about Yves Lampert winning the time trial? I mean, there was some rain later, right? Stefan
Yeah,
Bissiger,
and then
though, I
right up
think
again.
had a dry time trial, didn't he? But
Yeah,
Yves Lampert, he's what, 30? He's in his 30s, 32, 34.
and he hasn't won a
Didn't
race
he?
for 2 years, I think too.
Did he
So
win the prologue at Copenhagen? Tour de France
yes,
starting to Copenhagen,
yep,
I thought. Yeah.
yep, I think so. And he won the time trial in the Tour de Suisse too, I think, one time too. He's a good racer, good time trialist, and it's such a short one. It's like 4K.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so really good time trialists finished in the 30s. So, and it went on a bike path, and it was it was not a normal time trial, and the time differences were so small that
Right.
and the stages 4, 5, and 6, oh my gosh, they're huge mountain stages. Well, 4 is
One
just
of
at
the
the end.
pass, yeah, they too much snow and they couldn't
Right. Yeah,
get.
that's gonna be a 40-some kilometer stage. Do you see that? Like a
No, I
43.
didn't see where I knew they were trying to reroute and they were having trouble with that. And then,
I think it's gonna be 40, yeah, 40, so under 50, under 50K. So that's gonna be a crazy stage for sure.
uh,
So
yeah, it
in
was,
the big picture, it's good that Lampard got the jersey, but yeah, it's great. And did he keep it today? Because he was in the sprint. They caught back on there. No.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Because yeah, no one who won the sprint got the time bonuses got enough to.
Pro card. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah, and he'll probably stay. I think he'll keep it tomorrow too. He should be able to keep it tomorrow, and then stage 4 will be the day that he loses it. So yeah, it creates that. It does what it's supposed to do. It creates an order right away and makes excitement for the first few days, and then that gives them going to Quick Step more of a incentive to be at the front of the race and try and control it because they want to keep the jersey for a couple of days. So it works.
Soudal Quick Step.
Soudal Quick Step. DeKernick Quick Step. No, Soudal. No. Yeah, sorry. Who's DeKernick?
Alpes and DeKernick.
Yeah. Okay.
Alpes and DeKernick.
Yeah. Which who they were at the front of the race when I turned it on with only like 15K to go or so too. They were pulling hard at the beginning. Not sure who they were setting up there, but it didn't once they hit that last climb, they disappeared quickly.
Yeah, well, the other racing going on, we should mention the first, I was pretty sure the first women's Catalonia version, 3-stage race. And they really
Yeah.
highlighted that Mariana Voss was coming, one of the, one of the greatest, probably the greatest all-time racer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she came through on the Molina climb that they do, the La Molina, the climb that they do a lot in the men's race. She won, but it was the New Zealander, the young New Zealander that won the other two sprint finish stages. Wollongong, what's her last name? Can't trust my memory for anything anymore, can I?
Well, Voss got enough to be able to.
Yeah, Voss won the overall.
Yeah.
But it's. I'm looking. Come on. Oh, maybe you're faster.
Mariana Voss won the second stage, right? So
right, that was second stage. What the New Zealander won
Wollaston,
first.
Ali Wollaston.
Yeah, that's it. Wollaston. I knew it was a Wallace something.
Yeah.
It's always good to see new, fresh names coming. I mean, a lot of the top names were at the Tour of Britain, where Lada Kopecky took the overall there.
Although that race was, she again, it was decided on, I think the first stage is what it decided. Well, the first two stages, because Kopecky took the lead in the first stage, and then in the second stage it was a two-person break, and so she won. She was able to it was interesting how it was decided in that too.
Yeah, and she won the overall by 17 seconds.
Yeah, Lorena, we just won, I think, two stages, right, in that. So yeah. Wollaston, she's 23 years old. Yeah.
But I wasn't familiar with her, so it's always good to see another name winning, because you see a lot of the same names winning a lot in the women's races.
She won a stage of the Santos Women's Tour Down Under this year. That's one of her big wins, and she won two stages out, so this year in the Catalonia. So yeah, right. So this is her big breakout. She was 7th in the Ride London Classic this year too, but not a whole lot of big results. So she's definitely making a name for herself.
Excellent. So a bunch of other races going on. They call it the next generation, Giro Next Generation. They used to call it the Baby Giro, right?
Yeah, I think it's the same one.
I only saw Artem Schmidt and Owen Cole for the Americans racing there.
We did have a result in France too, with a junior who got 4th. I was trying to decide which trip.
Owen Cole was 26 in the time trial.
Yeah, Schmidt was 42nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
much prestige as Avenir.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think it's only 2 Americans.
Yeah.
But we've had big success in that before, right? Dabrowski won that. That was a huge win for any.
Okay.
Do well
Maybe
there.
Did you see? You were talking about race in France. I see on stage 3 at the Côte d'Or Classics Juniors, Brendan Luongo was 2nd.
Oh, okay. We had one other finish that was 4th, I think, too. That was I was wondering if that was my friend Adrian's over there. He's working for USA Cycling, but the only thing was a Hot Tubes team that was over there. They're racing for that race. But he's, it might be underneath different auspices with some of the same riders, but not all.
Hot Tubes development team, yeah. Brendan Luongo. So it's good to see there's still young Americans getting results over. I mean, Ashlyn Berry is the one we're looking forward to in the next couple of years, right? Because he's already getting some nice results as a junior, only 16, and then just still waiting for Enzo to get old enough and still like racing to be racing. Enzo Hincapie should be filling the shoes, but
so stage 1 it was Caden Budd. He got 5th, not 4th, 5th. So
all right, but I'm just circling back a little bit here because I'm looking at Matteo Jorgensen behind you there in the picture and thinking about he's 24. Yeah. He's still exploring his limits in a way. Whether I don't think he's any bigger than Miguel Indurain, is he? I mean, Indurain was such a phenomenal time trial
Time
specialist that
trials.
he could get enough time and just hang on in the mountains.
But he started out though not necessarily. I mean, Indurain. I remember him winning a stage in the Pyrenees, I think, when Pedro Delgado in the '88 tour won. So it was like, and it was like a huge thing. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy, who's this guy? And so he didn't burst onto the scene being the best right away.
Sure.
It took him a while to develop.
And
Yeah.
I think Jorgensen's at a good age, although Tadej Pogacar is just a year older.
Yeah.
But you don't know. I mean, for him, Jorgensen to win Paris-Nice, a lot of things fell into place, and the race strategies with having Roglic and Evenepoel there, so two of the top guys you wouldn't expect him to beat. And then did you hear him say that Brandon McNulty, how he knows how Brandon felt then to get second?
But I did see a picture of him
kidding.
and Brandon McNulty when they were 15 years old together.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So
I think
Miguel Indurain is 79 kilograms.
Ooh,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm like 79
when right now.
Yeah. He's pretty thin. I've seen him. He's
his last year of racing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It just shows, in his racing. So he's 59 years old and he's 1.88 meters. So I'm not sure.
1.8. So Matteo, how does he compare?
Yeah, you bring up Matteo and I got here.
And Bradley Wiggins was a bigger guy too. He had to lose weight, Bradley, and again, phenomenal. So okay, height for Matteo 1.90 meters. Okay. So he's just a little taller. His weight is only 69 kilograms.
10 kilograms, so 20 some pounds lighter.
I don't know. I think he's just being conservative and not knowing that he'll be strong enough and big enough to do it all. So I mean, look at him though. He's clearly a very good classics rider.
Yeah. And Indurain didn't try and win all the high mountain stages. So he was a person that tried to hold on in the mountains and let those climbers chip away at their, at his lead. But he would take the time, all the time, the time trials, so, well, almost all the time. So I remember
quite a bit.
He and Johan Bruneel got away one time together, and Bruneel sat on his wheel the whole stage, stage in Belgium, I think, and then sprinted by him, but they gained minutes in that stage too. It was huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Sorry, just had to go back and talk about Matteo again because we don't know how high he can go, how far, and he's getting opportunities, which is great because I think we've said this multiple times, or I've said multiple times. When I first heard he was signing with Visma Lease Bike, I was like, oh, what chances is he going to get there? They've got top GC guys, they've got top classics guys.
You think about the fortunes of Visma Lease Bike from last year, this year, winning all 3 Grand Tours, winning at will in almost any race they wanted to.
It's like they sold their soul.
Yeah, now all of a sudden they are not doing anywhere near.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So Indurain's first stage win in the Tour was a Pau to Châteauray-Cambesque, but it was a mountaintop finish, and he won that stage, and he finished 17th in the GC that year.
Yeah.
91.
I was just seeing
or 89.
The management before Visma Lease Bike was the top 10 would be good at the Dauphiné for Matteo. Top 5 would be really good. I mean,
of course, there's a swim coach saying that. He
doesn't know anything about cycling, but no, he knows about training though. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know what he's just their performance coach or what he is, but I think didn't he move up to running more of the organizational aspects of the team now or something? But yeah. No, I think it's interesting your comparison with Indurain though. Yeah. So we can see this is his third. Is it Matteo's third tour this year?
Third tour, yeah. And he was so frustrated before because he was so close, a lot of breakaways, and didn't get the win. I mean,
so this year, if he gets a win and finishes 17th or higher in the GC, he's on track.
Yeah. All right. Well, no, it's always exciting to have someone come, because it's been several years since the U.S. had, I mean, up until last year with Sepp winning the Vuelta. I mean, he wasn't really a GC threat in a Grand Tour so much before last year.
No.
Or even in 1 week stage races. So actually, we haven't even had any threats to win classics race either just recently, but Nielsen Paulus and Brandon McNulty and Matteo Jorgensen are really like giving us a lot of hope for bigger wins, with Brandon getting a Grand Tour win last year too. I was wondering with Juan Ayuso's crash, which we haven't heard much about his injuries, if he couldn't race, is it possible that Brandon could called in to race the Tour, because he's not on their provisional list? They've got a
yeah. They said for sure no, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
Well,
we'll see.
year two, when Pagaccia was saying that Micah wasn't getting to go to do the Tour this year, and
Uh,
he said, "Oh, I feel bad for him. I really wanted to go." And he was this key guy in the Giro.
yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Well, maybe he could go still. I don't know.
Right, yeah. Right. I mean, like, what's Micah got to do to get to go to the Tour, you know?
Yeah.
And especially when Toddy says, "I know he really wanted to go."
Yeah.
Yep, sorry, you're out.
I guess Teddy doesn't have as much pull as some of the top Grand Tour riders before, who would pretty much
dictate team. Yeah.
Dictate, yeah.
Or he's just a good PR guy, you know? Like, oh, out of my hands. I love you, Micah.
Yeah.
You don't get to race though. Yeah.
Well, the Tour de Beauce is coming up this week in Canada. I know that because Taylor's been in Canada. It's been raining the last few days, so we've been training in the rain. And
yeah,
that's
it might be cold too, right? In Chicago today, it's cold. It's like in the upper 50s, and although warm later, but this is much further north than Chicago, so I could see them having some cold weather. He said normally it's nice there. It's like in the 70s, I think, and rainy. But yeah, it could be a tough race. But it's a good race in terms of good quality field, good courses, well run. You know, it's
been around for a while, right?
Yeah, 2.2 UCI race. I'm not sure the history is, but it's been around for a long time. Yeah, there's probably a place for the history of it too.
And I don't know if does Taylor have, just to talk about Taylor a minute. My son, who's been racing for CS Velo, he's got his own podcast now. He's a coach, cycling coach.
Does he?
Yeah, I saw it was his third episode. I guess I should follow him more closely, but he didn't. I haven't been following my feeds very much. I'm not really on vacation. I'm just in Portugal, kind of checking out the area. So I actually have pretty good internet, though. I'm happy with the place we're staying with the internet that we have. So yeah, Taylor he did an interview with one of his athletes, Taylor Warren, cycling coach. No, that's a different. You can find stuff on YouTube. He's showing.
I don't see his fellows I listed in the preliminary start list either of Woes. So only a few teams are.
Well, I don't know. If you Google him, you're going to pull up lots of different things. I got interview that because he's done interviews. He's got his video where he won the gravel race earlier at the beginning of this year. Here. Okay, Source Endurance coach Sophia breaks down the Traca 360. That's the latest podcast from Taylor. Just came out 3 days ago. Source Endurance coach, and Sophia breaks down the Traca 360. All right. Well, I'll give Taylor a little plug. We should have Taylor talk to us again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. We've touched on the Dauphiné, Tour de Suisse a little bit. Nielsen Paulus, we didn't mention him, as kind of the same as Sepp Kuss. Nielsen, I talked to him at the Frankfurt race. He was coming back from injury, and it was pretty surprised how his fitness was in. I don't know what the story is at the Dauphiné exactly, because he didn't finish there either.
He was racing well. He was racing pretty well.
His time trial wasn't bad.
Nope. Yeah, and his climbing was going pretty well too, but he just couldn't hang at the end. And then I think they pulled him for the abundance of caution again. They said so, making sure that because he's slated for the Tour team for
Right. So he has been doing the Tour de Suisse the last couple of years. He was fourth a couple of years ago too.
Yeah, he's definitely not in the shape he was then. But they feel like he's on track to be able to do a ton of work in the Tour. So I think Carapaz might be their their GC guy. So
Right, it should
yeah,
be.
yeah, and they've got a few stage hunting kind of guys, obviously too. Betiel obviously is doing his normal stuff, and he's looks like he's in flying form, so he'll probably be stage
Yeah.
hunting there.
Rui Costa's there at the Tour de Suisse, and he was up there at the finish today.
Yeah, yep.
I
Yeah,
kind
he's
of forgotten Rui Costa had signed with EF Education.
yeah, he's yeah. You never count out Rui Costa.
He's
He
not,
could
well, he's
be
won the Tour de Suisse before, so
yeah
I think that's some racers they
multiple times, hasn't he? I think
yeah.
is that one he's won like 5 times, something like that, or
Well, I think that's a little much, but
yeah.
you gotta look it up. All right.
Yeah.
What would he do without Pro Cycling Stats? I was looking at Brian Cocard
Three
because
times. Oh, three, I'm
three
sorry.
times, yeah. Brian Cocard has 52 wins, including today's sprint finish win over I don't know, DeLigo had a mechanical maybe at the end, but Brian Cocard, I remember him not having won a World Tour race up until last year at the Tour Down Under. So he's racing like 10 years and finally got a World Tour race, although he's got 52 overall races. One.
I know it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, so.
And he's the kind of guy who is a puncher who can make it over these climbs at the end and then be a good reduced fun sprinter. But yeah, never got to the win in a
Yeah.
World Tour.
Well, and it's good for Cofidis too, because they hadn't had a lot of wins. But I think overall they've got 600 some wins or something, just because they've been around forever.
Right, longest continuous sponsor I think of any team, and yeah, it's amazing that I think they should be rewarded for being such a good sponsor so many times. I just realized I did have Warren Cycling shirt on.
Yeah, well, I was looking at that earlier too, because I brought mine all the way to Portugal, and I don't know if you're a
Changed the
long
time of
time
our podcast
watcher.
today. I had it on earlier today.
If you're a long time podcast listener and watcher of our YouTube channel that we put it on, somehow I lost the introduction and the finish, the intro and the back going out. And actually, the introduction had you not being in the podcast, saying that my partner left the podcast, and you came back, and I started laughing, and I was referring to when you were drinking your little Coke about that Warren sibling burping contest video from the late 80s.
Did we do that on air? We talked about that on air.
Yeah, we did. Well, it wasn't supposed to be on air, but somehow I missed the intro, and I was supposed to cut that out, and it didn't get cut out. But it was kind of funny, so I left it. Well, I didn't left it; it was already there. So that's sometimes my late night editing or jet lag. I don't know if I can put an excuse on it, but anyway, yeah. So I thought, well, maybe I should post a link to that video if you guys are interested to see what we looked like back in the late 80s.
Maybe.
Yeah, I could put it in the.
You guys posted it. That it's already on YouTube, is it? So
it is on YouTube. All right, it's on my personal channel.
Yeah.
So.
Rui Costa is 37 years old, and the last time he won the Tour de Suisse was 2014. So
yeah, Chris Froome's 39 years old.
Last time he won the Tour de Suisse was he won the Dauphine. Do you ever win the Tour de Suisse?
Yeah, he's won the Dauphine. Yeah, I don't know if he's won the Tour de Suisse. He's won a lot though. And he's still racing. I don't know what it's like to have Chris Froome. Like, how is it to come in way behind? And I mean, here you're 4-time Tour de France. I mean, you won so much, and now you're still racing. But do many people still interview you? Do they keep asking you the same questions? Are you going to get back to that level? Are you going to still do? I mean,
I think he gets a ton of attention still. I read some articles about him recently because we talked about him a lot recently. So I don't see that he's ever won the Tour de Suisse. He did the Dauphiné one.
Yeah. Tour Romandie. He was always on a small 15, schedule. 16. Yeah.
So in the last year he won it. Yeah, it was the last year he won the Tour, and this is the race he crashed in too. I mean, getting ready for the time trial. I mean, not the race. He actually crashed during the warm-ups. A gust of wind hit him when he had his hand off his handlebars of his time trial bike and crashed into a wall. But he said that he loves cycling still. He gets a ton of attention still. There's still, he gets tons of interviews and people want his autograph, and he's treated like a 4-time Tour de France winner. Was he, I think, 7 or 8 Grand Tours in general. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
2 Vueltas and a Giro. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's still treated that way, and then he just happens to be racing still. So it doesn't seem like
if he gets a Tour team, I think I saw that this year could be the first year since 2014, maybe, that 5 former Tour de France winners would line up.
Wow.
At the start. Yeah.
Highly unlikely, but yeah, if he would. So Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And
Jonas has to start too, I think.
right.
So
His contract goes through next year too, and he says he's planning to keep racing next year too. So, and there was apparently a little bit of reported tension between he and Michael Woods, but they both put the kibosh on that, saying that it wasn't true. They get along fine, and Woods isn't slated to do the tour this year either. So
I think he crashed and had a concussion, didn't he? Not so long ago.
yeah, maybe because he's not on the tour list for them, so he's not expected. So it wouldn't, even if it was a conflict, it wouldn't keep Froome off the team now anyway. So yeah, he's. I mean, and I guess it's is he? They say is he one of the best guys on the team? Does he qualify that way? Because certainly
is he going to take the spot from someone else? I mean,
yeah,
somebody that could break out like Jarek G, but they have to know. They have to know performances and following. They know people's numbers. And they know.
Yeah, what their potential is, and then they factor in their experience and their on the road personality, they're in the bus personality, things that'll help make the team the best it can be. So whatever that is, but yeah, they got to be able to perform on the road. If you don't
right, to be a road captain, you have to be around to be able to captain your riders. Unless you can't be in the auto booth in the very back, right?
Yeah, and I think Froome at this point can probably stick with the stage most of the way, and then gets dropped towards the biggest climbs, which are usually towards the end, when they go the hardest. So he probably can still perform that role. And yeah, I guess the question would be, could he get into a break and still have a good result or something like that? He's not going to get a result from the field, but maybe from a break or something. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do birthdays. Let's wrap this up. 10th of June. It's got a pretty nice list, I think. I would say. I mean, because a nice list of people that we're familiar with. Is that considered a nice list?
Well, sometimes it could be a nice list of people that we aren't familiar with yet, but we can learn from them. But like Alfredo Vindo.
Well, okay, the same age as Chris Froome, first on the list, who hasn't raced for how many years? Andy Schleck.
5-6 years at least.
Yeah, Andy Schleck, number one, same age as Chris Froome.
Retired in 14, end of 14. 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
29. He retired at 29.
Whew. Yeah.
Huh?
Surprise. Yeah.
Yes.
He was a character. I mean, he and his brother Frank. Frank was 4 or 5 years older. They raced together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andy, won the tour.
Jonathan Waters is number 5.
Yeah. Yep. Waters is still there on the races.
Not a lot of points.
I think I saw him at the Dauphiné. He's there right now. So
yeah. So he's 51. His best results, he's won the Route du Sud overall, the Coors Classic overall. I didn't know the Coors Classic was still going on in '99.
He never finished the tour. And famously, his best chance ever, where they're through the mountains and the flat stages towards the end, I think 2 or 3 stages to the end, got stung next to his eye by a bee. It swelled up, and you lose your depth perception if you don't have both eyes, and especially if you're not used to it. If you're used to it, you can maybe get by. And so they thought they had to give him a cortisone shot, but if they gave him a cortisone shot, that would show up as a positive drug test. But they thought it wasn't medically safe for him not to have the cortisone shot and keep racing. So he was mad about the team with that, and but they stuck to their guns. Credit Agricole at the time, and that was it. Couldn't finish. But he raced for Credit Agricole and Full Service, and he has an interesting book. I like his book. I have it on books on tape.
Yeah. He also won the Tour de Gila too.
Yeah. He's a great climber. He talks a lot about when he went over to Europe and racing for Spanish teams and how hard it was. And it's a good read. And he reads the book too.
Will Frischkorn is 43.
Huh? Frischkorn.
Team Garmin Slipstream in 2009.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what
second in the stage of the Tour de France.
Yeah, second Tour of Missouri too, which is a UCI race for a while. A lot of European teams for that race for a couple of years.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I hate to think back about the big races that we used to have, like the Tour de Georgia, Tour of Missouri.
Tour of Missouri was relatively flat, obviously race too, but I want to say that Christian Vandervelde won it one year.
Yeah, I would go.
George Hincapie won that year in No, 7.
Silas Moorfield's 26. I see Aaron Hartwell, 55.
Aaron Hartwell. Who he's actually coaching now. U.S. Track riders.
Yeah, had
So
some
Aaron
results
Hartwell
in the
was. No, go ahead.
Tour New Zealand results.
Yeah.
Scotty Tickmeyer, Jacqueline LaRoche. Happy birthday to Zach Walker. So the Americans celebrating today and June 10th birthdays. That's all I got on my list. Let's wrap it up pretty soon here. You got a ride plan for you today? What kind of?
Yeah, I need to. I'm actually training, so that's good.
What's coming up?
But,
what are you training for?
well, I've got. I guess maybe I'm training for the Asheville Grand Fondo, which always seems kind of odd. But in the meantime, though, I've got a Southeast gravel race this weekend, a relatively flat one that I did last year. It used to be the first race of the series. Now it's going to be really hot down in South Carolina, but it's a relatively flat race. And then Belgium Waffle Ride, North Carolina, is the week after that.
Wow.
And I'll be doing that. And so the pre-ride, the burrito ride on the Friday beforehand, that Fast Cat coaching is going to run is going to benefit the Asheville Youth Cycling Program. We're pay for entry fees and support for junior riders. And so we're raising money for that. So if you're going to do Belgium Waffle Ride in North Carolina, sign up, $25 to do the ride the day before, and that money goes towards some of the money goes towards Asheville Youth Cycling Program, which we work with.
Excellent. Well, that just kind of jogged my memory. You talk about doing a gravel race. We were together recently for your son's graduation from high school. We talked about some cycling things, just because we always talk about cycling things. We just decided to start recording and do a podcast because we talked about it so much. But Unbound was going on last weekend, or over last weekend, and
we not a podcast, so no.
No, I was watching the Instagram live feed to see the end with Chad Haga and Lachlan Morton dueling it out. And Chad, I think it was first one. He hasn't been doing much gravel racing yet. I mean, he's gotten into it, but Lachlan, it was his fourth one, I believe, right?
Yep, fourth one. Yep.
So,
first one, yeah.
And I guess if you get 4, you got to rank 5 because you got to, if you do 5, yeah. So
you got to complete. Yeah, you get a special award for doing 1,000 miles.
And a very popular winner, Lachlan Morton, taking the win at Unbound, which the weather turned better, drier, wasn't as muddy as we saw Instagram video from the world champion Mahork trying to scrape mud off the tires the day before. Mahork had some mechanical struggles too on the Unbound race day, but I guess it was some negative racing with a big group with Keegan Swenson, who would be the big favorite since he's been winning everything. And so
he crashed so he didn't catch it onto that chase group. So
yeah, Lachlan was aggressive. I guess he always attacks in the same place. He did it again, and
really took a wrong turn too, and was off the course for a little while. So
wrong turns. You saw the wrong turn in the Dauphiny too. The motorcycle and the car went straight, and it was supposed to go left. The policeman was turned around looking, had his arms full, wasn't paying attention. The fans are pointing, and the breakaway missed the turn.
I didn't see it.
So, yeah, crazy.
But I saw Dylan Johnson's report on Unbound, and he said that it was amazing to him because they had all this firepower, Greg Van Emmerich and other people in the group, Keegan Swenson, and they were not chasing the 3 people at the time who were off the front. And I thought they looked like they lost the third person at the last rest stop, and I wondered if they left the rest stop earlier. But no, apparently he flatted the guy who was with them, and he ended up finishing like 27th or something like that. Yeah. But Dylan was saying that it's getting crazy at the rest stop. So when I did that last year, and I was not with the pros obviously, but I was in pretty far up in the group overall. And I washed my bike was covered in mud like everybody else's and stuff too, and we washed the bike real quick and lubed the chain and did all that stuff here. And I thought it was a pretty short rest stop, but Dylan was spending like 30 seconds in the rest stop and was getting dropped out of the rest stop. And he was
30
changing.
Seconds.
Yes, he was taking a ton of water and stuff like that too. Where other people, I guess, were just swapping bikes maybe, or just swapping bottles and then going again. It was very, very quick. Yeah. It's interesting. So his video starts talking about how things are changing, certainly with this too, because it was 9.5 hours. They set 9:20, I think. They set the record for the fastest unbound ever, and before they, a couple years ago, they said they'd never break 10, or they couldn't foresee breaking 10. And his best finish ever was, he was 10th this year, but he was 9th one year, and he did it in like 11.5 hours or something like that. And then he did 9.5 hours this time and was 10th. So it's getting, and again, the weather conditions were almost ideal, but it was the harder course going to the north with, over, I forget, 10, 11, 12,000 feet of climbing. So it was a crazy race, and it's just getting faster and faster with more European pros coming over, and it's the premier graveling event in the world, and man, it's just going crazy there.
Yeah. And the women are enjoying racing separately, but it turned out to be a big group sprint finish.
Yes, 7 or 8 maybe.
Yeah,
and a relatively unknown one. And that was a little question about that too, because even though they had a separate start from the pro men, they started close enough to the fastest amateur men that there was still some mixing with the fastest amateur men. So they're still trying to figure that formula out, where the women can have a race that's not influenced by men's racers.
Yeah, it was Rosa Plurser taking the win.
She just started doing gravel like 2.5 years ago, or just racing bikes, I think 2.5 years ago. So she's relatively new to the sport of cycling even, but yeah.
All right. Well, I said we were going to end. We need to get on with the rest of our lives, since we do other things besides follow cycling, talk about cycling. But it's always great to get together and talk to you and catch up. And we're looking forward to what's next. Big next is the tour, of course. And when do you leave? Do you leave? You don't leave till later, middle of July.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're catching the last 2 days in Nice, so we'll be there, but we'll be in England the week before. So I'll be able to watch Eurosport then for the last week. Although I probably won't watch much TV though.
And I'll be back in Portugal, so we'll be on the same time zone, an hour before European time. All right. Well, we'll get together.
I was wondering if I could, while I'm in England, if I can get somehow a European English bank card, I could sign up for Eurosport while I'm in England for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Well, just so it's better than the Eurosport coverage here that I was watching. I thought I'd catch the last of the Tour de Suisse, and then I had like Saturday's Dauphiné stage, and then Friday.
Maybe they had it live though, and then they switched to the previous stages afterwards. You think?
No, because this is today. They should have had the Tour de Suisse live. So anyway, all right.
I think it's internet. So
yeah. All right. Thanks, Ray. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Dean.
Bye.